But last but not least in animation for me is X-Men 97. I
You
finally
started
watched it.
watching it.
So after watching Deadpool and Wolverine, which like I said, I'll talk about later in TV and film section. Um, I just had it. I had the energy in me. I was like, I need more X-Men. So I watched the final episode of the original series, and then I
Mm.
straight ran through 97, and it was just as long as the is 10 episodes long, just as long as the last season of the original series. But the last season of the original series was ass, bro. That last season was not good.
Yeah.
It had a couple of banger episodes, but for the most part, that last season was not good at all. Um, but 97, on the other hand, was the greatest 10 episode season I've ever seen in my life.
It's
It
peak.
was so good. You seen it?
I have seen the first episode. Nothing past that though, because
Oh
I haven't
man,
had the time to watch.
it's
But
so good.
so good.
The animation, the voice acting, the writing, it's easily the best of any Marvel animated show or probably Marvel project. Period. Uh, honestly, I've really got to know what that showrunner did to get fired like a week before the show aired, because he was cooking with his writing, and if he didn't do something that bad, they need to bring him back. So some people are speculating that maybe it's because he has an OnlyFans, but that has been partially debunked. So
I
it's
see.
like he had to have done something like messed up to have gotten fired, and they're not saying why. Because like, why
Yeah.
did they fire him? Especially after he is everything I hear is people saying how he is the reason this show is so good. Or he's one of the biggest parts of why this show is so good. So I'm like, man, if what he did wasn't that bad, if it really was the OnlyFans things, shut up and bring that man back if you want the money,
Right.
because this show is great. Magneto is easily the standout character in this first season. He's always represented a more radical side of any disenfranchised community. The side that's more willing to commit the same crimes onto their oppressors as they had committed onto them. But now he's leading the X Men after
Oh.
the presumed death of Professor Xavier, and is attempting to fight in the same way that Xavier did in his memory. Renouncing his more radical ways. But the humans don't make it easy for the mutants, and
Yeah.
he's trying his best. And he has some absolute banger of lines that will go down in history. And they do a great job of like weaving modern day politics into the stories, into a story that specifically takes place in the late '90s, without it being like changing history and make it seem like things were happening back then that weren't. But like a lot of
Right.
problems that are happening today, like didn't come out of nowhere. They've existed for a long time, and they're finding ways to weave that into the story in ways that make sense for the time period. Um, and yeah, it's real good. X Men can easily be representative of any minority on the planet, so it works.
Yeah.
And yeah, animation disconnected from the MCU's main universe is the future of Marvel Studios. I keep saying it. I have no doubt that we're going to end up seeing um, a sequel to Spider-Man anime series from the '90s. And because this show did really well, from what I understand. And they'll probably, knowing Marvel and Disney, they'll probably want to expand that universe, which honestly I wouldn't be mad at. Because there was also a Fantastic Four and an Iron Man series in the '90s. So if they brought those back too, it could be lit. It could be lit.
It could be.
Said it once, I'll say it again. These characters and stories thrive in animation above all other mediums. Cartoons have always told superhero stories better than any live action show or movie. Just
Yeah.
They need to just keep making animated stuff.